So we solve this problem. We have to merge two sorted lists and we have to bring a single list. So what is the logic we will follow to merge two sorted lists? Okay, the list should be made by splicing together the nodes. Okay, which means that you should not create a new list. Okay, so one logic is we can iterate through all the elements in the second list. This is list 1, this is list 2. We can iterate through all the elements in the second list and take this element and put this element in the appropriate place. So 1, if you want to put it here, you will put it here. Right? You have to insert it here. To insert it, what you have to do? This next pointer you have to mark it to here. Suppose you want to insert 1 here, right? This next pointer mark it here, and this next pointer put it here. So this is what is inserting this node here. Okay. So next you want to insert 3, right? If you want to insert 3, second next pointer mark it here, and the third next pointer mark it here. Then you have to insert 4. So insert 4, this next pointer mark it here, and this next pointer you can make it null. Okay, so this is one way of doing it, but before inserting any element, we need to find the right position where you have to insert. Okay, so the steps would be you have to first thing you have to iterate over the loop over list 2. Okay, this is the first thing you do, loop over list 2, and then for every element find the appropriate position where it insert. Find correct position. How you find the correct position? You for every element you have to loop through this. You have to find a node which is greater than this element. Then that is the place. Before that you have to insert it. Correct. So every time inside this loop you have to again loop and find the appropriate position. And then once you find the appropriate position, right? Suppose you have to insert 1. This 2 is greater. Have a previous pointer. And this is the current pointer. This previous pointer next you can mark it here, and this pointer next you can mark it here. Your insert is over. Okay. In case if you are to insert in the beginning, this number is very small, you have to insert in the beginning. And that case, what you have to do? You have to change the list 1 head pointer. Okay. You make this pointer, next pointer point to this one, and change the head pointer of list 1. So this is what you need to do. This is one way you can insert a particular node into the list. So first list I'm having it as a current pointer point to the first list, right? And see, we have to do the null check. Null check is if the current node is null, right? If the value, if you keep on iterating, right? The current node, it should not be none, right? If it is none, if you try to this is what is dereferencing. What is this current is nothing but list. It has value and next, right? If the current, this value itself is none and none dot val, you will get a none type error. Okay, so this is what is dereferencing a null pointer. Okay, this should be a valid value. This current should be a valid value. Then only you can put dot and you can dereference and get the value. Okay, so first I'm making a check. If the first list is null, then I'm just returning the second list. Okay, now the first initially the previous pointer is none. Okay, now as I told you, I have to loop over the list 2. Okay, now this loop, right? I am finding the right position to insert this. What is the right position? I will keep on looping until the current value is less than this value, list 2 value. Until the current value is less than the list 2 value, I'm just tracking the previous pointer to insert. Current I'm looping, I'm moving the current to the next. Current equal to current dot next. Okay, so it should not, the current also should not be null, right? If it is null, you have to come out of the loop. Okay, so now if the previous value is none, right, that means we have to insert in the beginning. If you have to insert in the beginning, your list 1, this node, right, list 2 node, you are going to insert in the beginning. So your list 1 will become list 2. Okay. Else, if you are not going to insert in the beginning, then the previous next pointer will become next 2. Okay. So the two things are done. What are the other things left? You have to move the list 2, list 2 to list 2 next. You are looping over list 2, right? So you have to go to the next value. Okay. So this next value, I am making a copy. So the next value is made a copy here. So I have inserted, now 1 is inserted, right? This next pointer is here, okay, and then this list 1 dot next, I am making a copy. So this will be temp. Okay. Now list 2 dot next, I have to make it current. Current is here. Okay. And the previous value, right? Before the previous, it will become the list 2. Because list 2 only are inserted, right? If you have inserted, previous will become list 2. And the list 2 you have done, you have inserted, so you move to this one. List 2 becomes temp. And you have to keep on doing this. Finally, your list 1 will contain the sorted list, and you can return the list 1. This is one way of doing it. So the logic is so simple. You have to go through each node and insert in the list 1. To insert, you have to find the appropriate position. You have to find a position where this value is less than this value. Okay. So the previous position you can insert it. So you are looping until your current value is less. When the current value becomes greater, right? That means the previous position you have to insert. I'm just tracking the previous pointer to insert. So because the previous pointer next you have to change it to this one, and this pointer next you have to change to this one, correct? To insert. So previous pointer next you are changing into list 2, and list 2 dot next is changing into current, right? So you have inserted. Only thing here is you have to take a temporary of the next node in the list, right? You are taking temporary variable and assign it again. So that now if you have inserted, right, next you have to go to this item to insert. Okay. So previous will be now the every time you insert, your previous will be your the item you have inserted. Okay. So this is one way of solving the problem. So the other way of solving the problem is, what I can do is I can have I first create an empty node. Okay. After creating empty node, what I will do is I will compare these two. Okay. Which is small? This suppose it is equal or small. Okay. This next pointer I'm making it to this one. Okay. I'm moving this pointer, right? I'm having list 1 pointer. So this next pointer I'm moving it to list 1. This is list 2. And list 1 I'm moving it here. Okay. Every time I do, I make a comparison of list 1 and list 2. Okay. Right. So I make a comparison and then I move the pointer accordingly. Okay. So I make a comparison. Which one is lesser? So this next pointer will keep track of this next node. You have pointed it here. Which one is less? You have pointed it here. So you have made an empty node and then you have pointed which one is less. You are pointing to that node. Okay. So let's assume it is pointed to list 1. Once you have pointed, you are moving the list 1. Now list 1 is here. Okay. Now to this node you have a pointer. You keep track of this node pointer. Okay. The last node, this is a new list, right? You have a pointer to the last node. Let's have it last. Okay, this is the last node, right? So what you have to do is this last node, then you have to you make a comparison. Whichever is less, the last node next you are pointing it here. Okay, now this becomes the last node. This is last. Okay, once you make it, you move that list next to here. So list 2 will be here. Now you compare these two. In this, which is small? 2 is small. So last node next will point here, and you move this list 1. Now you compare these two. Which one is small? This is small. So last node next you point here and move this. This is list 2. Now you compare these two. This is last node, right? Now this is last node. No, this is last node. Now we compare these two, which is small, this last node next pointed there. And this is remaining. Finally, the last node next will point to the remaining node. So you have to create an empty node and make these pointers. If you see the code, I'm creating an empty node first. Okay. So until both the lists are empty, right? Both the lists should not be empty. Okay. If list 1 value is less than the list 2 value, then this node, the created node next pointer, this node next pointer is pointing to list 1. Okay, and I'm moving the list 1 pointer here. Okay, next, so now the node is here, correct? The node is what is created here, right? The node next pointer, you are marking it here. Now you have to move the node here. The node will always keep track of the last node. So node dot next is equal to node equal to node dot next. So this node is moving from here to here. So node will be here. Okay. Again, you are going and comparing. So list 1 is here. Okay. List 1 and list 2. Which is less? List 2 is less. So node dot next is equal to list 2. And list 2 will be equal to list 2 dot next. Okay. So let's rub this off. Okay. You create an empty node. First node is pointing here. And this is what is dummy also. Okay, initially you compare these two values. This is lesser, no, not lesser. So node dot next will be pointing to list 2. Okay, and list 2 will be equal to list 2 dot next. This is list 2. Now this is list 1. You compare both. Then node will be equal to node dot next. So node from here, you are moving the node here. So node is always tracking the last item in the new list. Okay, and you are comparing list 1 and list 2 value. When you compare these two values, list 1 is less. Okay, now coming here, node dot next equal list 1. So node dot next equal list 1. So you are pointing the next here, and you are moving the list 1 here. Okay, again node will be moved to node dot next in this line. So node is moving here. Okay, now you compare two things. Which is small? List 1 is small. So dot next is equal to this next is equal to list 1. And list 1 is equal to list 1 dot next. This one is going here. Okay, finally after this node is coming here. Okay, so you keep on doing, right? So suppose the first list can contain 5 items, the second list can contain 3 items only. So the once any of the list gets over, right? You are moving the list 2 and list 1, right? When any of one list gets over, this will be false. Okay, this will be false. Okay, and then either of one will be true, and which is true you are assigning to the node dot next. Finally node dot next will be here, you are assigning the remaining thing here, and then you are returning your dummy is already here, and the dummy next will be the head node, and that is what you are returning, and this will be this is performance is better.